Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to do a review of the season so far and a preview of what is to come after the World Cup, I am joined by nearly the whole team. Fortunately, Si can't be with us tonight. He's otherwise engaged with Derby. But I do have my namesake, Mr. Daniel Rhodes, our resident video analyst and data collection expert. Evening, Rhodesy.
How's it going, Dan?
Very well, mate. Very well. Been a few weeks.
It has been a few weeks. I'm sure we all enjoyed the test match.
We certainly did enjoy the test match, Rhodesy.
Cricket listeners, you want to get into it and watch this team.
Yeah, it's a good job this isn't a cricket pod, Rhodesy, because I don't think I'd be qualified to talk about it anymore. I don't actually know. I don't actually. Everything I thought I knew about Test cricket is being ripped up in front of my face. It's amazing.
It is.
You can play a game for 150 years and then just literally revolutionise it. It's mad, isn't it? Yeah. But I do have our most qualified sports scientist. It's Dr. Phil Barter, Professor of Data Science at Middlesex University. Evening, Phil.
How are we doing, boys? Yeah, I have to agree. It's the old adage of get yourself sorted in the crease and, work it out for a couple of overs and then start scoring. It's completely gone out the window. It's if you haven't got 20 by the first couple of overs, you're doing something wrong, So, yeah. But wonderful to watch. A wonderful game, I have to say.
First ball's got to be smashed for a one bounce four over the bowler's head as a minimum now.
Exactly. It's don't ease yourself in, just get on it. That's all it is. So it's very, very, very entertaining, which is the whole point of the coach's philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah. But it just does show you what impact a coach can have on a sports team, isn't it? But really, really transformative impact.
Transformative impact, yeah.
Entertaining was possibly the whole point of our football team this season as well, but as we're going to come on to.
Anyway, we've got plenty of listeners who are fans of the England cricket team, so we will move swiftly on here and talk about Liverpool FC instead. Right, so should we start with the good news? Good news is we qualified from our Champions League group second. That's the really good news. And that's the end of the really good news. In the Premier League, we are 22 points from 14 games, which translates to a 60-point Premier League season. We are 1-6, drawn 4, lost 4. We've scored 28 goals. That's 2 goals per game. That's 5th best in the Premier League. And we've conceded 17, so slightly over a goal a game, which is at the 7th best defence. Our goal difference is plus 11. That's enough for 4th best. So quick question before we start, chaps. Are we, but for the purposes of this pod, are we going to ignore Arsenal and Manchester City? Are they in a 2-horse race for the title and we are a non-factor? Or might it be like the start of 2022, where we had a 15-point gap at Man City and we clawed it back to, 1 at one point. Rhodesy, what do you think?
If we have any sustained period of form like we've had since the start of the season, absolutely no chance whatsoever. If suddenly we start the season like we thought we might be doing, or how we ended, like you say, how we started this calendar year, then there's a possibility I think we can get within 8 points, but I don't think we're ever going to be in a title race from now on.
Yeah. Barts?
Yeah. It's interesting you asked that after a key injury that's just happened at the tournament that you and me are not watching. Jesus is injured, isn't he?
How badly injured? Is it serious?
He's out of the World Cup.
Could be up to 3 months.
Up to 3 months.
3 months. Oh, okay, that's fun.
So I think
because the one thing Arsenal don't have is depth.
Don't have any depth up front at all. And don't have any depth.
They don't have any
depth at all. Yeah. So that to me, because before that injury, I would have said, 2-horse race. I'd like to think we could put a run together and, do what we did, 2 seasons ago and just pip in at third. But I don't know. Haaland being rested probably means that City, for me, have now got a home run to the title.
Yeah.
Whether Jesus is out for 3 months or longer, they always underpitch these things, don't they? So that might play into where we can get to. But I think Rhodes is about right. I think we could probably, because we've actually, looking back, there's a couple of good turning points we'll talk about in the last couple of games where you think, hang on, there's something going on here. And if we can, I'm not saying we have to buy, but it'd be useful if we bought one in January. Then, we could potentially carry that form on, improve it even. And, we could get within eight, if you like. But that Jesus injury for me just maybe brings in finishing higher than I would have said third or fourth.
Even if we buy at the immediate, the earliest possible opportunity, we've still got 3 league games before then as well.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's this. So I would say this, actually, if he was here, this is a variable we've never known.
Yeah.
A tournament in the middle of a season, a break in the middle of a season, another pre-season to do, a window that doesn't open till after we've come back, like you said. It's a whole set of variables we don't know. What we do know at the moment is we've ended this horrendous start to the season, not bad. We've come into something. A couple of our rivals have picked up big injuries in that break, if you like. And our front 3 are all back at the training camp, rested up. We'll have more rest than anybody else going into the back end of the season. So, because Núñez is out of the World Cup, isn't he? So,
and we do have good news on Luis Diaz. He is back in training.
He's back in. So I'm saying. So you've kind of got.
Yeah.
Bobby didn't go to the World Cup. It's sort of. There are some positives we could draw from it if you wanted to. Depends on whether
Jota's gone to Dubai as well.
So,
although, as we're going to come on to, the attack is not the issue.
No, it's not. No, and that's where you could go that way and say, well, probably our best 2 centre halves are still at the tournament, right?
Yeah.
So, But no, I think to answer your question, we're not in the title race. No, we're way too far back, even for this side that have great memory of going on fantastic runs. But I do think we could make it interesting and get close. Definitely.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the best we can hope for from here is third.
I'll take that out,
you? And just to finish off the context of the pod, we are 8 points behind Newcastle with a game in hand. We are 7 points behind Spurs, and we are 4 points behind Man United. 7 points behind Spurs, same number of games. 4 points behind Man United, the same number of games. We need to overtake 2 of those 3 teams. We need to overtake 2 of Newcastle, Spurs, and Man United. And Chelsea and Brighton are a point behind us. So let's talk about Liverpool so far. And I know you both focused heavily on this aspect of, haven't you? So we need to do the whole thing. We need to do the good, the bad, the ugly, and the catastrophic. So, Rhodesy, let's keep it completely open. I mean, whatever aspect you want to focus on. Okay, you go first, and then we'll come to you.
Right, you just touched on it. Then our attack. We've had the second most big chances this season in the Premier League, just behind Man City.
That's good.
We've had 45 to their 47. Our shot quality is at 13% at home, 12% away from home. That's good.
Which model? Or is that on the average of the models?
That's the averages.
Okay.
And our 1.31 non-penalty XG difference, and that's just at home, is also higher than what it was when we won the league.
Wow.
So you could say our home form is good enough, but then you have to come on to the bad, and this is more the catastrophic. We have conceded the 3rd most big chances in the league, and that's across home and away, which is absolutely mind-blowing. if we carry on with any kind of defensive form like we have done in the first half or first whatever third or just over a third of the season, we haven't got a catting hell's chance of getting top four. Never mind putting in a title charge. To concede that many big chances, that I never thought I'd be saying that. I never thought we would have a -1 big chance difference.
No. No.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
Away from home.
So just out of interest, Rhodesy, who is actually worse than us? Is it Fulham?
Fulham and Leeds.
Fulham and Leeds. Good God.
But the other caveat is the 45 big chances we've had, we've also got the second worst big chance conversion rate at 29%. And Man City have got the best at 51%. And Erling Haaland has got the best for a player at 67% of his big chances.
So we've got the second worst big chance conversion as a team. Yeah.
Yeah, 29%. Wolves have got the worst at 28%.
And if we're being really brutally honest, the big chunk of that underperformance is from one player, isn't it? Darwin Núñez.
Núñez has converted 33% of his big chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is just under average, but not good enough, is it?
No, he needs to be closer to 40. He needs to be, yeah.
Yeah, he's also having 1.7 big chances a game.
Yeah,
which is mind blowing. If he carries on getting 1.7 big chances a game for the rest of the season and converts it at 50%, that could be huge. If he carries on converting it at 33%, it's going to cost us continually.
This is one of the things that we need to. I was on my list of things to discuss. I mean, is there any evidence that Darwin Núñez is taking away chances or big chances and big chances from the rest of the team, or is the team generating enough in attack that if one player is missing stuff, the rest of the team is still compensating for it to some degree? What do you think, Rhodesy?
Salah's having an average of one big chance a game, which is enough. 30 chances for him a season would be enough. But as you say, Núñez is also having 5.7 shots a game, which is the most in the league, close to the most in Europe. And you might say that he needs to come down a bit. But it's not just Haaland who's missing chances. Salah's converting at 12% this season. Haaland's converting at 12% this season. And that's all their shots.
Yeah.
So both of them, if they come up to the Bobby Firmino mark, so Haaland's running at 35% of his shots converted, which is frankly ridiculous. And that won't continue. It shouldn't anyway. If it does, we're going to get 100 points. Well, I don't know if they can now, but he's going to score 40 goals minimum. If Núñez, this is one of my predictions, if Núñez and Salah can get up to converting 20% of their shots, 50% of their big chances, I think we definitely come in the top four. I think the attack's key. I think the games that we've lost has only been by the odd goal. But on the flip side, we have to get the big chances down to less than 1.5 a game conceded.
Yeah.
That's the biggest factor for me. If we continue conceding close to 3 big chances a game, even though at home in the Premier League we're creating 4 big chances a game, we're still conceding 2.75.
Jesus.
3 away.
Yeah.
So isn't that the height of randomness, Dan? We have 4, one has 3.
Well, it's like the West Ham game was a really good example, wasn't it? I mean, they turned out to be a really lucky win because when they missed a load of big chances, I think they missed 4 or 5 in the match, and we got a lucky win.
Yeah, but we've also had defeats like the Fulham game, where we have 5. and they had 4. But that's what it is. If you've got a game where there's 8 big chances split between both sides, one either way, it's just a coin flip then between who converts them. It's not one team's controlling it and have 3 big chances and not conceded in it, which I take. I'd rather have 2 big chances and not concede it. And this is going against things I've said in the past. It makes it more fun if you've got 5 and concede 3. But if it's over such a big sample, we are not going to get 4th conceding the amount of big chances.
Points of order, Rhodesy. We didn't lose to Fulham, we drew, even though it felt like a defeat.
Yeah. Of course they did. But the shot quality conceded away from home this season is 15%. That's 15% every single time. It's half a big chance every single time our opponent has a shot. And then 3 or 4 of them are going to be big chances. We've got to improve that.
But
I just sort of backing up really, Rosie, what Rosie's saying there. I as you know, I generally look at bigger stuff. So I've done run Monte Carlos on the goals we should have conceded and the goals we should have scored, and then split it by home and away as well. And if I try and be positive for a bit, in terms of the goals we've scored, our actual is at what, 26 goals, isn't it? Something like that? 28. 28. Sorry. And the Monte Carlo is saying is that we should have come in around 30. Okay. In and around. All right. So we're largely in line. At home, we are overperforming. So the Monte Carlo is saying we should have scored 2 less than we have done. And away, we're actually underperforming by a quite considerable amount. So away, I think we've scored 7 goals, and the Monte Carlo is saying we should have scored near 13. So
significant, isn't it?
That's quite a big. I think, and also I think what Murray's saying there as well, the stark contrast between home and away. I think largely at home we've generally been all right. You know what I mean? We got 1 defeat with Leeds game, but other than that, we've won game. You know what I mean? It's been largely okay. We've got over the line, but the away from home is in attack has really been poor. Defensively, completely spot on with Rhodesy. We've conceded too many chances, and if you look at the XGA, sorry. This is usually understat data, and just for those who would like to know, I've run these sims 1,000 times. So I've used the XG values for and against, and run those 1,000 times to see what the probability would, or what we should have, what in those sense, what we should have conceded. Again, actual, I think we conceded 17 goals. Is that right overall? Something like that.
Yeah.
The Monte Carlo is saying we should have conceded nearly 25, 26 goals.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is, we've got away with that, away from home and at home are both under or by about 3-4 goals. So particularly away from home, we actually should have conceded a lot more than we have. So again, for me, when I look at those Monte Carlo plots that I will put in the chat, bar graph on it, I think our away performances for me have been particularly worrying. We're not scoring and we're conceding a lot of chances, and we've been lucky in the true sense of the word in terms of probability not to have conceded more, which would have led to more defeats away from home.
That's the Alisson factor then, isn't it?
And that's Alisson. And that, if you look at these graphs, you really can see the fact that that's what we should have done. Yeah, and Alisson playing so well at the moment. He's player of the season for me by an absolute mile. Can tell you that I've plotted lines on the graph to you what our actual scores are. You can definitely see the impact of Alisson. He's saved us 5 goals easily. Well,
it's on the. I was just saying one of the things I've got on the notes is on the Opta model. He's plus 7.6.
Yeah, there you go.
In the Premier League.
Half a goal a game.
Half a goal a game. Yeah. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you know what?
It's double. It's more than double the next best. It's more than double the keeper in second place.
Yeah. It's funny because I sort of run these, periodically, and I ran these at the beginning of the season. I looked at last year's, right, and I looked at I thought I'd go back and refresh what I said about last year. So last year, obviously, we only conceded 26 goals total. But I wonder whether this variability in our defending has always been there. And I've seen it triggered something in my memory. So I went back and looked at my notes, and the variability was there last season. The range on our data was 29.
Was it?
That's a huge range considering. So the maximum goals that the Monte Carlo said we could have conceded last season was 46. Yeah. So do you know what I'm trying to say? And that was in 10,000 sims. That's more sims than this.
Yeah.
So where it starts to lead into some of the discussions we've had this season is that we do have a system that is either fully on or fully off, yeah?
Yeah.
And when it's off, we concede a lot of big chances and a lot of XGs.
So
and that's where it is. So, yeah.
So you're saying away from home was a particular concern. Let's just remind people that. So we've had Fulham, we've had Man United, Everton,
Arsenal,
Notts Forest, and Tottenham.
Spurs. 6 games away from home.
So Tottenham had a lot of shots, and they generated it, but they didn't have Arsenal really generated a lot of big chances. Fulham had 3 or 4, I think. Rhodes, Man United had a
penalty. United had a few.
Even Everton had a few, didn't they?
Everton had a few good chances. Yeah, good chances. Yeah. Stood Virgil up on a halfway.
Man United had 4. Brighton had 6 against us. Arsenal had 3. West Ham had 5. Forest had 5.
Forest 5. Good
Forest
God.
5. That's
Spurs had 4.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay. There you go. That's the problem.
All right. So we talked about the attack a bit, not so bad. Talked about the defence, very bad. Right. Let's talk about one of the other stories of the season. Unfortunately, Sai isn't with us, so we can't really focus on maybe the biggest story of the season, which is the physical performance of the team, the running, the sprinting, the high-speed runs. Let's talk about the other thing, which is the tactics. I mean, what have we had this season? More big chances conceded or system changes?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I think that we went for a period of changing the system every single game when we were in full-on panic mode. But I mean, another.
So why
thing,
the team? As a rule, why would a team change its system? Let's start at the beginning.
So some of it will be down to if they haven't got the resource to play the original system they intended to do. Okay, or they don't feel the personnel can carry out that system that it intends to do, or they're in complete panic that they feel like the opposition have worked them out and they can't do it. So remember 2 seasons ago we ran out of midfielders again and we put all our forwards on, and we definitely played a two in the midfield and 4 up front. I think when we not long after we signed Jota, because that was an injury enforced, we had to do it. Then we went back to a 3 as soon as people became available. So you managed to load that way. This season, I would imagine it's somewhere between not having the personnel available when Thiago's not been fit, or Henderson, or they've basically not had the resource, which Si will come on to, within them from physical attributes to do with the jobs that have already been had.
Naby at all? We haven't had
Naby at all, no. And it's... Then you've got the tactical tweaks that come within that as well. So we discussed at length that the plans in pre-season they couldn't put into play because they had injuries early on at the back end of pre-season. So they went into this first game not with the side they wanted to play with, and then it got progressively worse because they lost Thiago. Nunes gets suspended for 3 games. So your first 4 games were affected by suspension, injury, or both.
Yeah. So obviously on the injuries, we did have a particularly bad start to the season with injuries. I guess in the World Cup break has come at a decent time for us, Rhodesy, because Diaz is back, Joel Matip is back, and there's somebody else as well.
Jota might be back soon.
No, it's not Jota though, is it? Jota's February, isn't it?
Ox is back.
Ox was back just before the World Cup.
Oh, he was, yeah.
So he'll be working with the team more as well. Kennett has been in and out most of the season. Robertson had a few injuries as well.
Ramsey's back.
Ramsey's back in the team. So yeah, there's better news on that front, right? We're in a potentially better condition to go back in.
And equally, if you look at the players who haven't gone to the World Cup, Salah, Diaz, Nunes is only playing group stages.
Yeah,
I know Jota's not back, but he's been doing rehab. So Bobby's not gone.
No.
Your midfield probably.
Thiago didn't go.
One of our key players. Harvey hasn't gone. Fabinho's gone. Obviously, Curtis hasn't gone. Hendo's gone. Obviously, Naby, whether he still is in the fold or not, he's by the by, but he's around. Your back 4 is probably where we're most stretched in terms of going to the tournament. Gomez hasn't gone, obviously, and neither does Matic because he's retired. But your starting two centre halves are both at the tournament still there. Yeah. Robbo's not gone. Neither's Costas. Trent has gone, but just to train. And Ramsey's back fit. So
he got on the pitch, didn't he? He actually got
on for half an hour. Yeah, but I'm just saying, largely he's there to train, isn't he? And show everybody how to take free kicks. But your best keeper in the tournament and the world is there. So it's twos and fro's. Unfortunately, I would say the players that we need to improve, if you like, or the area we need to improve, we've got the most players still left at the tournament, which is defensively.
Okay. So Rosie, in terms of the personnel, we look potentially okay-ish to restart in that sense.
Yes, I think we've been slightly fortunate that some of our players haven't gone that could have, or have gone and have hardly contributed.
Yeah. Do you see us from this point, talking about the systems? Do you see us sticking to the 4-3-3 from this point forward?
Well, I hope so. Just on the tactics, I was just going to touch on the pressing, Dan, and the fact that we must have spoke about 1,000 times that the pressing has been one of our key creators, and that
historically,
win the ball back from a press, that shot has got a higher shot value than any other shot that you can create. Often it's a big chance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's around 30% or something. But we've had 38 of them. But my issue is, and this shows and touches on a tactical frailty that Barter was saying, and defensively, the defensive stats that we've conceded 32. So there's barely any difference in what we've created to what we've conceded from our pressing this season. 38 to 32. It's usually so we're having more than one a game leading to a goal or shot, but we're conceding more than one a game. We've got to stop that. Yeah. Our press has been, because of all the tactical changes and the personnel changes, our press has been a weakness this season. How often can you say that?
Yeah. We've been able to say another point. So we were talking about it a lot in the first third of last season as well, weren't we?
Yeah.
The press had become more of a weakness than it had become a strength. And I guess the game which typified that more than any other was probably the Brighton game, wasn't it, Rhodesy? Where
this season or last?
Yeah, this season. Yeah. This season.
Both.
Yeah.
Six chances conceded against Brighton.
Yeah, because we just come back off a 3-week week break for the Queen's the head of death, the head of state, and in the UK, and it was absolutely abysmal performance, and the pressing was one of the as bad as it's been. I think, Rosie. Did you collect that one?
That and the Napoli game shocked me in terms of how bad we were organisationally, in terms of not closing down.
Yeah.
A lot of individual pressing, a lot of headless chicken, a lot of type stuff. Whereas I thought it did improve towards the end of that period, the last 4 or 5 games. But then we were still conceding some big chances. So, if we can turn that into we have 2 shots, 3 shots a game from pressing and barely concede 1.
Yeah.
And I think that'll reflect in the number of big chances that we're conceding.
So, Bart, one of the trends we saw in the first third of the season was that the pressing became much less proactive. We didn't really press much into the opposition final third. If we did, it was just the odd solo press from a player.
Yeah,
virtually nothing in the opposition box. We weren't hunting the ball.
No chains.
No change. Mostly solo, and it was nearly all kind of defensive in nature. Either side of the centre circle and in our own half. Do you think that's going to continue? If you had to make a prediction for Leicester and what's the other? Is it Villa? Is it Villa and Leicester? Isn't it?
Villa and Leicester.
Do you think we'll continue that same style of a more conservative press, or do you think we might go back to the heavy metal? Do you think we got it in us?
Well, see, one of the things I have done, I've done is I've looked at our shape and everything and how we've done, and I would have said the last 2 games we've started to get a bit of consistency. in our position.
Tottenham and
Tottenham away and Saints.
Southampton, yeah.
Other than that, I was actually quite interested in hearing Rhodesy talk through the games. I was looking at the maps, and like we are literally all over the shop for quite a lot of them. And then we get to a nice steady period with City and West Ham, and then Leeds. We do something. I don't know what's going on with Leeds, but in terms of the shape there. But anyway, it probably reflects in their performance. So, but if I look at that and I look at where we are, and also remember I lay on top of it the EPV or the XG values, we get more consistent with our high value players in the last two games. Whereas before, the person who is deemed to be the one who has the most threat varies considerably amongst the changes. And we get this, we've now become a bit of a square with a player in the middle system. So you've got Tottenham away, it was Núñez, Salah, Firmino behind them, Thiago and Fab. Right, there's a box with Firmino in the middle. For the Saints game, we had the same box formation, if you like, but Salah and Núñez were a little bit deeper and Firmino was up top. So we had the same 5 players involved. And then the wide players were the 2 fullbacks will be your 2 greatest XT or EPV threats. So to see that consistency, I know it's only 2 games and it isn't a run, but that gives me some lights, some fresh things. And that also, I would suggest, I think we are returning to what we do best. The problem I think we had in both those games, and I wasn't in the Saints pod with you, but we fell off the cliff in terms of physically on 60 minutes, was it?
Half time was 60.
Half time was 60. So I'm hoping that with this break, we might be able to repair some of the stuff, and so would confirm or not, the bits we didn't do pre-season to maybe build in some capacity that we haven't got. But certainly from attacking point of view, for me, it looks like we've settled on let's go and do the 4-3 that we've been doing for seven years really well. Yeah. And let's get that right with the personnel. We've got Núñez playing this wide left role, which would be really interesting to see what happens when Diaz comes back, how he integrates that. And I would suggest that system is, and the shape of that is better set up now to do the group pressing that we've always been doing as well, because the connections are there to work on and off the ball, if that makes sense.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own 2-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So just in those 2 games where we went back to 4-3-3.
Yep.
And we, I think for the Napoli in the Champions League game, wasn't it? That's all.
Nice, that'd been 3 in a row, wouldn't it? We did that. Yeah. And Ajax as well. Ajax was kind of a bit of a 4-3-3 as well.
Yeah. And then did you say that the fullbacks were basically the biggest in terms of expected threat creation in your model? Yeah. Back to the full. So Trent and Tsimikas, Trent and Robbo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas before you'd had like Salah popping up in one game, Harvey, Fab, Thiago. Do you know what I mean? It was just shared. There wasn't a consistency in the pattern of our play.
And in terms of the 2 wide forwards or the false 9 or the 8s, were any of the others highlighted as EPV, or was it literally just the fullbacks?
For Tottenham away, Núñez and Salah, Thiago were all fairly decently highlighted with Fab. Firmino is more of a connector in that, if you like.
Yeah.
For Saints, kind of the reverse. Firmino, Núñez, Thiago better than Salah. But Fab became more of he's a very low value. He's not 0, but he's almost white, if you like, on the scale.
Okay.
So, for me, there's just a better pattern there, Dan. You know, I'm like with patterns, and
you love a pattern.
I love a pattern, and I look at it and go, they look more similar to all right.
Yeah.
So it's only 2 games, but it gives me some confidence that we can do something at the back end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, Rhodesy, one of the most depressing things this season so far was the opening game against Fulham, where we literally looked like a team of plodders, didn't we? That we were swarmed all over Fulham. It was the high octane, high energy, and we just looked like pedestrian in comparison.
Yeah,
we come back against Villa and then Leicester. Neither of those two teams are the most dynamic in terms of the Premier League. Villa are very near the bottom, in fact, in terms of running. Leicester are a Brendan team, so they're not the most dynamic either. What are you expecting? Do you think we'll be able to go out and what do you think are the chances of something like Fulham as being shocked again? Do you think that's now gone, or do you think it could happen again?
Well, I recently listened back to our season preview, and I'm just kind of baffled as to how we interpret how this pre-season is going to go in Dubai, how this World Cup's going to affect us. And this has to be key. Are we going to learn the lessons of what clearly has happened? Something's happened behind the scenes in terms of the recommendations for players playing, players being rested. Our managers even talked about it in public, even hinted at it, about team selections, about players not starting, about players only having 30 minutes, about players only being able to play the first 60, all these things. If we've learned the lessons and gone, either we don't listen to that or we've tweaked it and we think we've got the right formula now, and we apply that and our players are much fitter than what they clearly were, because that wasn't a tactical thing.
No.
It was a physical thing. And if we've learned those lessons...
We did, although to be fair, Rhodesy, there was a lot of people telling us in those early weeks when we were raising this, said, is it tactical? Is this a choice? Are we, the players are putting in less now to put in more later? And I think, well, we didn't actually really see it at all, apart from one game against Man City.
Yeah.
Where I think it was 120k, and then we couldn't get up for the next game after that. Because,
That's kind of an adrenaline level.
Yeah.
That, it's a huge game.
Yeah,
it's only half a game as well.
It's
only
Then
we couldn't keep it up anyway.
No.
Barter, you're the sports scientist on this as well. What do you think in terms of the? I mean, it's clear we don't know what went wrong, right? But we can safely say that pre-season didn't do its job, did it?
Yeah, I think we can't pinpoint it, but if you look at all the factors that are clearly influenced by our physical levels as a result of a pre-season going well, if you like, the reverse is also true. There were so many things that just weren't right, and it pointed to the fact that we got pre-season wrong. We clearly got it wrong, or we didn't plan it. We had too many injuries. That's another telltale sign we got things wrong, all in the same area, or roughly same area. There was soft tissue, and also it was 2 or 3 hamstring injuries. And then Thiago goes off with a hamstring injury, I think, in the Fulham game as well. So, that points to you that you've overloaded and underloaded in a particular area. Yeah. They weren't conditioned. You spot on. I would say, actually, I'd probably say that the majority of the first 14 games, we weren't anywhere near where we should have been physically. To go to Napoli and concede that many goals and look that slow.
9 big chances, Phil.
9 big chances. That's something that should never ever be happening at a top level game. So I think we fundamentally didn't prepare correctly for the season. Whatever reason that is, we don't know the full ins and outs of it, but it was right there. We had a set of tactics to go out and play, and the players couldn't do it.
Yeah. So I think this will be the third restart of the season, bizarrely, or first one against Fulham, then against Brighton, and then this one against Villa. And I think we've already seen two absolute horror shows in those previous restarts. I think if there's a third one, you're going to be into the stage where some heads are going to have to roll for this, either whether it's medical, whether it's physio, whether it's coaches, who knows, right? But you've got to have to,
The only problem with it being, it's annoying we've got another new coach, right? So when we came back after the break, Brighton had just got a brand new manager in.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and he did a pretty good number.
Oh God,
it's tactics, right?
Oh, it's
and it's another
Emery.
Right?
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying. So I know he's had a few more games. He's probably got them playing, isn't he?
He's not quite Carlo, is he? But he's a bit of a nemesis. Definitely.
He's a bit of a nemesis. So
yes,
it's just one. I mean, yeah, at this point of the season, you're looking for all those things, aren't you? Because you're not confident in your own ability. But we have to get it. This isn't. Everyone on that team, everyone coaching team, the whole lot. No, we have to get it right from now on. We have to. Otherwise, as you say, people are going to lose jobs.
Yeah, and bizarrely enough, actually, we got the Man City game just before Christmas in the League Cup. I mean, yeah, be interesting to see what level.
Annoyingly, that's City though, isn't it? Because if it wasn't City.
But you got your first came back. You got a couple of pre-season friendlies, and you're going to come back into a 120k run plays against 120k match potentially. In the League Cup.
I know. Who we got in the pre-season? Is it Leon and Milan? Is that right? Have I heard that right in the friendlies?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So so that's 3 games to get ready basically for Villa, which is the game we need to be on for.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right, so
none of us are bothered about the Man City game, are we? Really?
No, it's just at home. I mean, no one likes to lose at home, right?
No, it's away. It's away.
Oh, is it away? Oh, well, then I'm even less bothered.
Yeah, and the final thing I was going to say was, Rosie, we've already missed 2 games because of the Queen's funeral. Wolves at home and Chelsea away. And my understanding from the unofficial Premier League expert Dale Johnson, ESPN, is that us and Chelsea have not got a blank window to fit this in before the end of the season. So we're already looking at 3 games in a week scenario, aren't we, at some point with the Chelsea match? And we've got to squeeze Wolves in as well.
Yeah, and I don't know when. And you mentioned it as soon as it happened. This is obviously the most condensed Premier League season of all time. And there's going to have to be either some very early cup exits for both teams, or maybe even or Champions League exits to get those games in. Because if we do what we did last season, there won't be a spot to play it. It's going to be really strange. If we beat Man City in that League Cup game and then end up with playing, League Cup game.
Do you think there's a possibility this season, Rosie, that somebody in the top division, somebody who's in Europe, like us or Man United or whoever, right, ends up having to play in the same competition, 2 different teams on the same day, or maybe within 24 hours? Do you think that's going to happen this season?
It's happened to us before, but But
people kind of forget about it because one of the teams was in bloody the Middle East, wasn't it? So,
we played in Qatar in the World Club Cup, and we played out on the.
But do you think? Because I've seen a few threads from Dale on this. I think it could likely happen actually.
Do you think?
This season, either the same day. Either one of the teams actively schedules it for the same day. So, like United, just say fuck it. We'll just play the kids in the FA Cup and we'll play another game on this day, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're having to do, say, like you've got a game on a Saturday, then a Tuesday, Thursday, and then a Saturday, you've got to fit that in with your opponents as well. That's the hard.
Yeah, I think the difference with the World Club Championship was that it didn't really if you look at it, they're all old men, aren't they? Old English men organising these things, basically, right? And it didn't affect their tournaments, if you like. They still got their game played at the same time.
Oh, but
what I'm saying is, like, you're saying you're going to play a Premier League game on the same day as an FA Cup game or a League Cup game. That would affect 2 of the home tournaments. I think that's a bit of a different question.
So you think there'll be?
I think we'll be forced to play 3. I think we will be forced to play 3 in a week, like United nearly did.
Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's what they'll do, because you remember, right? If we get knocked out of Europe, we can't play on that game anyway, because you can't play on a European.
Yeah, but they gave exceptions. UEFA gave exceptions for that as well last season and the season before.
It would be a lie like they won't do it for this season. I think that the easiest way to get these games played is to get knocked out by City.
Yeah.
And then you've got the cup final for that is one
knocked out as well. First, we arrange that. Don't
yes, Chelsea are already out of the League Cup.
course, yeah. So that's good.
Basically that's the game, right? If we get knocked out by City, we have a League Cup final when that is played. Whenever we can play that fixture again, whatever we can work it out. Is what I'm saying.
All the semi-final of the League Cup.
All the semi-final, yeah. You've got those because they're midweek, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, right. Let's talk about us and our rival. We've talked a lot about us on the restart and going forward.
Yeah.
Let's talk about us and our rivals. So, it's a good job we aren't directly in competition with Arsenal and Man City this season because, annoyingly, Bart, Arsenal have pretty much the best underlying numbers, depending on which model you look at. Pretty much the best underlying numbers in the league. They got on Understat. They got the best attack, and they got the second best attack, and the best defense, and the best expected goal difference. And on the Opta model, City just squeak it, but Arsenal are actually got the numbers of a really good team.
I know it's. I don't know because we've sat here before and said, "Oh, I'm not sure about Arteta and this Arsenal side and the rest of it," but actually, he's bought the right players, I think, to get his system working.
Yeah.
And whatever you think about those players, I know there's some off the field stuff and the rest of it, right? He has got a two-man midfield working with Xhaka and Partey, and he's got a plethora of 10s to rotate in front of him. He's got two speedsters down either wing, and he's got a 9, right? And they haven't had a 9 that does the job that he's wanted them to do. Yeah. And he's got a left back that doesn't get injured. So he's bought the other centre half that was on loan for ages, Salabah. He's a very, very good centre half. He brought him in, sat him next to Gabriel, and they've got suddenly you've got a very solid team that are performing bang on their XG.
And you think about how good we've been in expected goal difference, which is an expected goal difference is the number one measure of your underlying team performance. Yeah. And Arsenal's is double ours this season on Understat, which is just fucking.
So that they are where they should be. Really, the thing that I would say, and I'll go back, is they haven't got any depth. If Jesus is out for an extended period of time, if Shevchenko gets injured, or one of the two sitters gets out injured, they will struggle because they haven't got any replacements. So that's where I would say that they are in the position they should be in. All right. And all these things about if you're there at whatever stage at these points, you should go on and win the title. The only caveat is you've got a massive break in the middle of the tournament and they've lost their forward.
Yeah. Okay. So let's park City and Arsenal.
One caveat, Dan, on Arsenal.
Go on.
They've had the most defensive errors in the league this
season. I know.
Yeah,
it's mad that is they're really rising that well, aren't they?
And aerially as well. They're not great aerially either in the box. They just don't. I can't remember the figures, but they just don't let you have them much.
So Arsenal have got the most defensive errors conceded, and they haven't been punished for making those errors. That's not going to sustain, right?
Nah.
But at the same time, they've also got the most defensive errors by their opponents, 8. So that tells me something that they're doing with their pressing side of things as well. And they are
conceded the fewest big chances.
Yeah.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, mag boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, so we are going to park that. We are going to park Arsenal. We're just going to focus on the other 3 teams above us, plus Chelsea and Brighton. The good news here, first of all, it's really, really annoying for me that Newcastle are actually ahead of us on expected goal difference on both models, on Opta and on Understat. I mean, I did not think that would be possible at the start of this season because, Newcastle have bought some good players, but essentially they've got some really average players in their 11, but their manager is getting far more than the sum of their parts. He's turned them into far more than the sum of their parts. So it's annoying that Newcastle really got their shit together in that respect. But the good news is, after having a look at this, is that none of the 6 teams from Newcastle to Brighton have got what you would call an objectively good defence. The best defence is Brighton conceding 1.15 expected goals against per game. And that's on the Opta model. Opta models is slightly more conservative than Understat. Understat is more generous than Opta on the expected goals. But it tells me, you're not looking against a team where, it's not like we're trying to overturn somebody who's only conceding 0.9 XG per game. These thinking, shit, they're actually a really good team there. So none of the 6 are objectively good, and Newcastle have been running pretty hot at both ends. So there's some good signs there for us. So on the Opta model in attack, they're 5 goals more than they're expected. They've scored, so that's pretty hot. And on the defensive side, they are 3.5 goals better than they're expected, or fewer than they're expected. So they're hot in both boxes. So that's always a good thing in terms of getting results. But how long you can sustain that for is always the key. It's the $1 million question.
They're +3 on the expected points as well, aren't they, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tottenham are extremely hot in attack, ultra hot in attack. 7 goals more on Opta than they're expected. Brighton, Man United attack is mediocre. Chelsea's attack is even worse, right?
Yeah.
Chelsea's attack is just downright bad. Aren't they signing somebody really big though?
Well, up front, the guy that you spoke about,
Nkunku,
yeah.
Is that in the summer or is that in January?
I think that's January.
Oh, fuck,
I think it's summer, but I'm not sure.
Is it summer? Well, anyway,
Okay.
I've seen both, I think, but I thought it was January.
But Chelsea's attack is objectively bad at the moment from the start of the season. In terms of the defence, the teams, Brighton are running slightly cold. So are Man United and Tottenham. So they've all conceded more than their expected numbers. Which is where we're us and Chelsea is slightly warm. We've got better. We because of our keepers. Kepa's actually saved Chelsea a few things this season. So, Tottenham are really hot in attack, Newcastle hot at both ends, and otherwise, you look at Man United's numbers there, and they look like a 6th or 7th place team. They don't look very good, but I don't know if you've seen much Man United.
It's 20 and 20, isn't it? So they've scored 20, conceded 20. They've got XG of 21.8 on it's Understat, 17.3 on GA. So, they're not great. They're not great at all. They're overperformed their points by 3 as well. So, I would. They look mid-table.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
but so do we.
So do we. But I think there's bits. We've got a game in, we've got another game to play. There's periods where we have, actually, I've scratched that. I've just looked at what Understat saying about our defence. So, fair enough. But no, I think we do at the moment. But I just think, how can United improve? Well, they've bought every player. They've got a decent DM in. They've got these players in. They're looking at linking to another forward. They've just probably the biggest bonus that United fans will be looking at, whether they want to admit it or not. Ronaldo's left.
Yeah.
Right, so now they can actually forcibly. They don't have to worry about playing a dynamic front 3, which could be quite interesting for United fans.
I don't think. I think based on United's numbers, I don't see any reason why we can't overturn a 4-point.
No, I don't think we. I think we can overtake United. I think we can overtake Tottenham.
So if we win our game in hand, we're 5 points behind Newcastle.
Yeah,
Rhodesy.
But I think Newcastle, United, and Spurs they've conceded fewer big chances than Man City. So I think there's something there with their defensive stuff that is quite good. Well, it's with miles better than ours, twice as good as ours. But it's whether, like you say, whether they can score goals, because I think Chelsea have struggled, Man United have struggled. Spurs have had quite a few big chances, so that attack seems to have a bit more process. But then on the flip side, if you look at how many, if you look at some of the Spurs games, they've been really, really bad in the first half. Consistently conceding the first goal in the first half, which is what we were doing. And that you can't keep doing that either. So whether they're just being really cautious at first and then taking the game to teams in the second half or in the last 30, which is what they did with us, I don't know. I think they need a tactical tweak to be more proactive in the first half to have any success this season. I think Ronaldo leaving is possibly the worst news we could have had because then they lose a lot. There was a lot of circus around United about Ronaldo, wasn't there? A lot of questions being asked all the time about him. And now Ten Hag's got control. I hate to say it, but I would be a little bit more. I know you said the numbers are mid-table, but I think he's contributed a bit to that as he did last season. And I think they might have a better second half of the season.
Rhodesy, what's Newcastle's big chances conceded?
Yeah, Newcastle's big chances is 22.
Conceded?
Yeah, conceded. And Man City have conceded 23.
See, Newcastle only conceded 11, right? Their XGA is nearly 18 on Understat.
So that's something they are hot. They are hot.
They're hot. I mean, very hot. They are hottest of the. So that's where I think we could. I think that gives me hope. That we can put
Newcastle is signing players in Jan as well.
Yeah, they will sign somebody.
They will sign players, of course, and they're in a position to do that as well because they can sell.
Do you know one fixture that didn't take place before the World Cup, which hasn't happened yet?
Oh no,
Newcastle Arsenal, and they play on they play on New Year's Day. I mean, that should be a really good game, and it'll be really, I think, quite an intelligent game. It's at Arsenal, I think, on New Year's Day.
I fancy Newcastle to win that.
Do you?
No, Jesus.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
And Jesus has been amazing for us.
That's what I'm saying. He's pivotal to you just said the pressing up front, right? He's been pivotal to that. Without that, I don't think you can fix that.
So I've got a few other things on our rivals. So I think the most important thing is that we're not trying to overhaul any objectively good teams. No. I think that's helpful, and some of those teams are a little bit hot. Just on team styles, PPDA. This is on Understat. Leeds are best in the league, perhaps unsurprisingly. There, Chelsea close second. Then Arsenal and Newcastle very close behind Chelsea. So in terms of PPDA, Arsenal and Newcastle very, very aggressive this year. Brighton and Liverpool just behind Arsenal and Newcastle, with Spurs and United firmly in a mid-table position there. Goalkeeping-wise, Kepa has been really good for Chelsea. Mendy has been an aberration. And David De Gea and Hugo Lloris are way under their post-shot. Actually, De Gea has conceded 3.7 goals more than expected, and Lloris 2.9. That could be a worry there if those two goalkeepers get their shit together in the second half of the season.
On Newcastle as well, down with the PPDA, I would say they remind me of one of the I think it was a second version of Chelsea's Mourinho, that broken press. So they'll press high and defend deep.
Yeah, we talked about this after the Newcastle game. We did, didn't we? Bart's had that brilliant thing where they almost set up to play in short bursts.
Yeah. Very much short, sharp, and they've really reduced down their PPDA as a key metric. The other thing, I don't know what this, Understat have got OPPDA.
Opposition PPDA, yeah.
See, Newcastle, just looking at them now, and Newcastle's own is 9.7, the opposition is 11.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at the others, they're all like ours, for example. Our own is 10, and the opposition is 21. Yeah. Cities is 25.
I know, because they just let.
Do you know what I mean? It's just quite interesting to see the difference in the approaches, and that's
absolutely.
That's a real outlier in the top six.
It is. On terms of, I'm looking at the Opta numbers as well. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the best two teams in the Premier League finishing this season are Man City and Arsenal. Man City have scored 9 goals more than the opposite, the post-shot XG. and Arsenal 7 goals more. Tottenham also hot there. They're five more. Newcastle slightly hot. We are neutral, completely neutral. So are Chelsea. Man United, they're the worst in the Premier League for finishing.
Are they?
4 goals less. They've scored 4 less than their post shot XG in attack.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's a game. So United have got. You could argue that Man United are the worst team in both boxes in the Premier League, and Newcastle are the best.
Yeah,
but that's.
You could also argue that might reverse.
Yes, if you play enough games. So, just on shot quality, Roger, you've already talked about our shot quality with the average of the models. I just wanted to mention it in the context of the Opta model. So, the average shot value on Opta this season for not excluding pens is 9.7%. Average, so 0.097 XG is the average. In terms of our shots conceded, average shot quality conceded, we are 0.127, so 12.7%. So 3 whole percentage points higher, worse than the league average, or if you want to do it in relative terms, 25% more than the league average. That's how bad. And we are the worst in the league in terms of the average shot quality, worse than Fulham. Chelsea, the only other team over 12% in terms of average shot quality. So Chelsea, Fulham and Liverpool, the 3 worst defences in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Spurs are the best.
That has to improve, Dan.
It does.
Yeah. Has to improve.
We have to literally get that down to league average at worst for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
From this point onwards.
Yeah.
Spurs have got the best defence. Their average shot quality is 7.3%. Newcastle second best, 8.2%. And then United, Arsenal and City just all about bang on the league average pretty much. Final few. United and Chelsea are non-factors on attacking set plays. And also Man United are also terrible on defending set plays as well. I mean, there's very few redeeming features about Man United on all these metrics, I have to say. So Man United and Chelsea, non-factors on set plays. Liverpool, Newcastle, Spurs, all strong on set plays. Man City's defence is outstanding on set plays, defending their number of shots they concede from set plays. Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, Brighton and Tottenham are all good at defending. So the only outlier there is Man United on set plays.
We've had 69 shots on set plays compared to Newcastle's 78.
Are we second?
We're second. Man City are on 59.
Yeah. And one massive change for us this season versus last season. Remember last time we used to talk about the high line? But last season we could play the high line, but we'd also generate the offsides. We are only 4th this season for the number of offsides provoked.
Yeah,
with 29. Newcastle have provoked the most offsides in the league, maybe surprisingly, 34.
34 in 14, 15 games.
Yeah,
I thought they were playing a high press and low block, and
maybe they're playing high press, high line. Who knows? But
how many have we got?
29. We're 29.
Wow.
So we're about to a game, just over 2 a game. Yeah.
Another thing on Newcastle, they've hit the woodwork the most times with 8. We're second with 6.
Oh, okay.
Also, we're one of 3, 4 teams without a pen this season.
Yeah, and we conceded 4 in all comps, or 5.
Fulham, West Ham,
Napoli 2, and I'm sure there's another one. I'm sure there's another one after that as well. I'm sure it was 5.
So yeah.
Well, that's your predictions to start of the season.
yeah, that's great. That was
absolute jinx.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. Has anybody got anything on any other? I've got one on individual player. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have, and I think this has to change. And obviously, I would have researched this, but Trent's the 3rd highest in the season this campaign with 0.63 big chances created a game without an assist.
Yeah,
that is absolutely crazy, and will change.
That will change.
Creating that quality of chance for your teammates, and then not converted. On the flip side, Robertson, I think, is 2nd or 3rd in terms of expected assists, which is just like how unlucky can you get if you're creating that many big chances a game, but your opponent not expected assists, actual assists. What can you do? That's just your. Let me see. Robertson 7th with 4 assists, and he is 6th with 0.42 assists per 90. The highest in the league is Kulusevski with 0.74. The other strange one, again, it's just sample size, but Nunes is at 0.88 big chances created this season. So not only is he having 1.7
created.
Yes.
Wow.
Second behind De Bruyne.
Wow.
Not only is he having 1.75 big chances, he's creating 0.88. He's causing chaos, and his conversion numbers are worse than average. So like I said, if he gets hot, we come third.
Yeah, and on that one, we also on Nunes, we do have 3 players in the according to the Opta model, in the top 10 of the league for non-penalty XG per 90 minutes played. Obviously, Haaland is top, but 0.75. Nunes is just behind, 0.7. Salah 0.51. Firmino 0.41. So 3 Liverpool players in the top 10.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 Liverpool players. We've got 3 Liverpool players in the top 10 for big chances created.
Yeah.
The other one is Elliott at 0.51.
Yeah. The attack is not the problem.
No,
but
didn't you say
it's a problem?
Didn't you say Haaland had 7 of the biggest things over the?
Oh yeah. So
Bobby was in the middle, wasn't he, of that?
Yeah. So one thing I did was we just tracking the overall performance of the Opta's new Optavision model. And as of now, 2nd of December, there have been 399 goals scored in the Premier League. So we obviously take out any own goals scored. I think it's 419 actual goals and there's 20 own goals. So 399 normal goals, 382.1 expected. So we are at a rate of 1.04 goals to 1 XG at the moment on the Opta model. Now,
that's impressive, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, what I would say, Bart, is that 399 goals on a model like Opta is still a small sample. You need to be into the tens of thousands.
Of course you do. Yeah.
But my little project was going to be, let's look at the other Opta models on FBref. Let's look at Liga and let's look at Serie A. Let's look at Bundesliga and let's see what the performance is there. What's the ratio of goals to expected in those leagues? And, are there any other, because it could just be that the Premier League has got better players, so the players finish higher than their XG slightly more. Because Erling Haaland is 7. So we are 17 goals over expected as a league, and Erling Haaland's going to explain 7 of those by himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bobby was 4 over.
Yeah, 4 over.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is about 3 under. No, I don't know.
But you mentioned Trent, right, Rhodesy? And I was going to say, not just on that one stat, though, but I do agree that has to change. But unfortunately, this is my big one of who needs to improve more than anybody. It's Trent. Because if you look at, FBref lets you look at the player's whole career. And unfortunately, this is pretty much the worst series of his season of his career. So, okay, he's got 0 assists, which is a freak, but his expected assists are down. It's lowest of his career, 0.2 per game. Last year was 0.41. His key passes are down. It's 2.4 this season, 2.8 last. His through balls are down, 0.45 versus 0.54. His switches are down, 1.6 versus 2.2, and his shot creating actions are down, 4.1 versus 5.1. He's one of the most important players in the team. And he's critical for us because he's our playmaker. And I just think he can't surely be is mediocre harsh.
Yeah, how do we marry that up with nearly 0.7 big chances again? And is it?
I don't know. You look at
that might be one of his highest.
Because you just said that Robbo's having a good season, yeah.
Yeah,
right? Trent's above him in a lot of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, progressive passes. Robbo's got just over 4 a game. Trent's 6.8.
Yeah.
Key passes, another one you said. Robbo's got 2.5. Trent's 2.3. XT if you like. Trent's 0.23. Robbo's 2.6, expected 0.2 versus 2.5. They're all round, but the only metric that Trent is vastly below Robbo is the actual assists for this season. So, but I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying in terms of context, he's maybe cost us his
by the performance of normal players, he's not having a bad season.
He's not having a bad season.
By the context of himself and what we need him to be. He's having, I think he has to get better.
Has to improve. Yeah.
But and this might be the weirdest stat I'm ever going to say, but John Henderson's created more big chances per game this season than Phil Foden. 0.4 to points. I couldn't believe that when I saw it. So either someone at Opta's related to Jordan Henderson.
Yeah.
We've got a massively skewed perception of his chance creation this season, because can I be honest? I hadn't noticed he was creating basically half a big chance a game.
Yeah.
You're right. I hadn't noticed that at all. He doesn't show up in those stats I just said to you. The only one he showed, he's got 6.5 progressive passes, but that's about the only stat that's anywhere near the others. On the ones I just read out.
And obviously we talk about Trent, but it's clear that, players like Fabinho and Van Dijk have to have much better post-World Cup seasons as well. Yeah. But I'm not trying to single out Trent or be mean to him or anyway, because we just wanted to get back to his world-class best form.
Yeah. One thing about our defence, and I did put a limit of, I think it was 500 minutes on this, but our aerial duels, we've got Van Dijk, who's been excellent at 76%. I think that's slightly below his career average, but it's still.
I think it's 75. I think is his career. Yeah.
Trent is at 61%. Gomez is at 57. For your centre half, absolutely not good enough.
No,
but we cannot carry on with a centre half at 57% when we've had 2 or 3 seasons with your Matips and your Cannates up at 70.
Yeah.
But we've only got 4 players who have had that many minutes who are above 50%, and that's Henderson, Gomez, Trent, and Van Dijk. Teams, we're just either too small to win aerial duels, which could be an issue because you've got Thiago, Elliott, you've got players in there, Carvalho, you've got players in there competing who can't compete in the air. But that's a key thing for me. Our central 3, so Fabinho's at 50%, he's usually higher because of his height. Matip is usually at 75 plus. Van Dijk's always at 75 plus. That triumvirate there and that 3 get rid of a lot of the danger from some of the teams that are a bit more direct against us. If Gomez is at 57%, that's a massive worry. Gomez is also the second in the top 10 in the league for defensive errors. Thiago's in the top 5 at 0.14 for errors leading to shots. If we can reduce the errors and win more aerial duels in that 3, with Trent carrying on at 61%, which is excellent for a fullback. Robertson is at 44.
I think
he's better in the air than that.
The way I would say it, right, is that I would personally be happy, very happy, in fact, that if we didn't see Joe Gomez at centre half for the rest of the season, because that would mean it would be either Joel Matip or Kennett played, and I'd be happy just to see Joe rotating at right back with Trent.
I'm like, I agree with you, Dolph, but I also think that's quite sad because that's the end of his career for Liverpool.
Yeah,
you don't buy Ramsey to be a backup.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I agree with your sentiment because he hasn't played well enough, and that's what you've ultimately got to be. But for me, that would be the end of the road for him.
You can't have a combo, Dan. I think we'll all agree with this. You can't have a combo of making more errors than the average centre back and winning fewer aerial duels.
No. Yeah. I mean, Addison's got an aerial win rate of 80 on F3,
I think, and also the fact that when those 2, when we were in the really, really bad run, and against Forest and Leeds, and then, the Leeds game was so damning.
Against Napoli in that first half.
Because Jesse March is not a tactical genius, but he just pressed every other player apart from Joe Gomez, and it was so cruel, and he just let Joe have the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Whatever way you look at it, this back end of the season is Joe saving his career for Liverpool. For me personally, it's a massive. As much as Trent's got to improve, as we've said, I think some of the midfield have got to step up and work out if they're going to be who they were or if they're going to be the player they've turned up this season being. And Gomez definitely this is it. If he doesn't do it,
I actually saw somebody.
I
actually saw someone, a Liverpool fan, because I'm not watching the World Cup, obviously, said Henderson needs to bring his England form to Liverpool. I mean, that'd be a first. I mean, because they're even saying that. So,
but then to be fair, like, let's break that down. Yeah, as much as we joke about that, look at the midfield three he's playing in. Declan Rice is at top of his game as a 6, right? Yeah, and Bellingham is doing apparently all the running in the world, all around him, energy, the rest of it. But he's going to look all right, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to do some of the physical work. He can just get on the ball. I'm guessing, I've not watched it like you, but I'm guessing in the last game, they didn't press him much. He was able to get on the ball, pick a pass, make runs, because Bellingham and Rice would sort out fits after it. I don't know whether that's right or not, but I'm just guessing from what we know. Henderson
did press in the first half.
Did they?
Bellingham was a bit ridiculous in terms of getting out of a press. In fairness to him, and I haven't seen much of Bellingham, to be honest. But he has been a little bit daft.
But you know what I'm saying? If Henderson plays in the midfield with 2 other players who are really high, he's going to look better, isn't he?
Well,
and we in England have defended quite low as well at times. They're just moving it on a bit, Dan. Can we just name our 3 key things for what we think we need to do to come in the top 4?
Okay, so
mine. I think Nunez's conversion rate, people converting Trent's chances that it's creating, and our aerial duel rate success improving from our centre backs and holding midfielder.
I was going to simply say it's going to be three things in terms of players. I think we need to get Virgil and Trent to last season's levels, and we need Alisson to stay at the level he is. I think if those 3 things happen, I think we can get top 4, maybe probably finish 3rd as well. Because I already think the attack is doing enough.
That's fair.
For me, you need to get the diamond working. So Alisson's doing that fine, but you need the 2 centre halves playing well and the DM in front. If you get that diamond working, we're absolutely fine.
So Kennett fit would be a big deal.
Kennett regularly playing with Van Dijk or Matip. Matip and Van Dijk are phenomenal when they're on form, right? But the 2 centre halves, the DM in front, and the goalkeeper working as we know they will do, completely shutting down the opposition, allowing Trent to do his thing, and I think we'll be fine. If we don't get that, we won't. Simple as that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that has been your Under Pressure podcast. We will be back next week for a Q&A session. Hopefully, Si will be with us. I'll be dishing out the questions well in advance, so everybody gets a good look at these things. But we'll be back then. Until then, whatever you're doing, have fun. Up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.